All right, so I just got back from watching The Long Walk, the latest Stephen King adaptation. This guy is just a fountain of ideas, and there have been countless Stephen King adaptations for decades now at this point. So I have not read the book, or I don't even know if it is a book, or if it's a short story or whatever, but I've not read the original source material of The Long Walk. But the gist of it is that in a semi post apocalyptic alternate America, there is this competition where 50 young men that all represent the 50 states of America go on a walk. Where they just walk straight and they have to walk for 3 miles an hour. If they go under 3 miles an hour and don't catch back up to the others, they will be shot and executed. And last person walking wins money, glory, fame, all this stuff. So it is very similar in its premise to Hunger Games, and that's a natural comparison because the director of this movie directed most of the Hunger Games movies. So it's very, that post-apocalyptic setting where the government is instituting this twisted kind of sport game that everybody is watching for entertainment, and it's meant to control the masses, and it's young people, and it's basically last person standing, a lot like the Hunger Games. But what is unique about this, besides that, is that the entire movie, almost the whole movie, is walking. These characters are just walking until they die. And that was pretty interesting for me, and it remained interesting throughout the whole movie. They find interesting character dynamics. There are characters that you like, there's characters that you hate, and then maybe the characters you hate aren't all that bad and all that classic stuff, and when people start dying, you feel bad and all that. And I don't know, they just found a way to keep a movie where everybody's just walking pretty entertaining and pretty interesting. I will say there's one character, the actor, I think his name is David Johnson. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure his name is David Johnson. He was in Alien Romulus last year. He played the android synthetic robot person in that, and he was excellent in Alien Romulus, and he's excellent in this movie as well. This actor, David Johnson, I hope that's his name. He needs to be in everything because he's fantastic. By far my favorite part of this movie. And he was great, and he had great chemistry with everybody else around him. By far the best part of the movie, besides just the interesting premise. So a lot of the conversations that the characters have are also very interesting, very down with the man sort of stuff that you would expect to see in a world where the government is just this awful, and you can make comparisons between this fictional world and our world. Very similar, again, to Hunger Games. So that's all the stuff that I liked, but there were a couple things about this movie that kept me from really liking it. And one of them was, and I hate to say it because it's all well done, but there's only so many tragic deaths that I can see before I start getting kind of numb to it. And this movie has a lot of tragic deaths. As you imagine, there's 50 people. But Hunger Games kind of worked where there's a couple tragic deaths, but a lot of these people are like jerks. So you don't feel bad when they die. In this movie, it is very much the opposite of that, where there's a couple jerks, but most of them are just regular Joe Schmoes. So when they get their ticket punched, you feel kind of crappy. But the problem is that after a while, I'm kind of like, okay, he's gonna die, and it's gonna be real sad, and here it is, and he does die, and it is real sad, and yada yada yada, and it kind of got a little stale. Now, individually, there's individual scenes, if you just take them out of the movie and like watch them on YouTube, you could be like, wow, this is incredible, this is so emotional, but when you see it over and over and over again in a very similar way, it starts to lose its punch, if you know what I mean. So that's my one criticism of the movie. And then the other is, I feel like the ending, and when I mean ending, I mean the very, very end, like the last 5 minutes kind of fell flat for me. I didn't really, not that I didn't buy it, I wasn't vibing, as the kids would say, with this ending. And I think the main reason is the villain, who's called the Major, played excellently by Mark Hamill, by the way. But the ending it revolves kind of around him and his relationship with the characters. But he's not really that much of a presence in the rest of the movie. He's there, and he shows up every now and then, and he's like the figurehead, the representation of the government given flesh and blood, that sort of thing. But he's really not as big of an antagonist as I would have liked. And I felt like if he was more of a presence throughout the whole movie, where we got to learn a little bit more about him, maybe he was a bit more involved, maybe he's walking with these young men, that sort of thing, and we learn how slimy and sinister he really is, that sort of thing. Maybe the ending would have worked a bit better for me if he had more of a relationship with the contestants. But he doesn't. He's very much this figurehead on a podium with these guys walking beneath him. And I felt like if he was down at their level, the ending would have been a bit more emotional, if he was a bit more involved in the story that way. But yeah, all in all, it's a pretty good movie. I didn't love it, but it is pretty good. Would you like it, though? I don't think you would like it unless you watch the trailer and are interested in this idea. Bearing in mind that it's not, a big summer blockbuster. It is kind of heavy, and there are a lot of sad parts in the movie. So if that doesn't sound like very entertaining to you, don't watch this. But if you're like, yeah, I can take something a bit more serious, something that's a bit more melancholic, and I love the idea of this competition of the long walk, that sounds pretty interesting to me, you can go ahead and check it out. I think it's worth a watch. I don't think it's an essential theater movie. It's definitely not going to hurt your experience. But I don't think you need a rush to the theater to see this unless you want to go to the movies. But it's not like essential viewing. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on The Long Walk.